Hello, and welcome back to episode 3 of Between Two IVs, where we talk about everything hydration and vitamin IV infusion. Last week we discussed how our bodies efficiently absorb hydration from IV infusions and how to tell how dehydrated we are. You know, the whole beer thing. Our head nurse, Kiune Mana, had a great idea for this week's topic. Do you want to tell them about it?
Aloha. I've noticed needles and the fear of them can be a barrier for anybody to receive a vitamin IV infusion or intramuscular shots. And I thought it would be helpful to share some knowledge and tips for helping make facing the needle a little bit more comfortable for everybody.
I love it. Having a natural, comfortable relationship with needles is not normal. One thing I've noticed is our wonderful guests often believe that once their IV is dripping and running, there's a needle left behind in their arm or their hand. Can we do a close-up and you can kind of show us how that actually works?
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to share it with you. Let's zoom in here and I'll give you a walkthrough. All right, let's take a look at our IV kits, kind of show you what we're talking about with the needle being extracted after we start your IV kit. We'll kind of show you what's in it. So here's our 20 gauge needle. We have a second one that's a 22, just a little smaller, but they both function in the same manner. In our IV kits, we have a pair of gloves. We have some alcohol swabs that we use to sterilize our site before we start. We have a 2x2 gauze. We have a tourniquet. Then we have a sterile tegaderm, or it's a kind of a film dressing. So I'm going to put this one aside. We're going to open up this. So it is sterile as we open it up. And as we take the needle out, we can show you that first it's covered by a sheath. Then this mechanism here is part of the needle. As you can see, the needle tip here. And after we gain access, this slowly gets retracted. As you can see, it's coming down into through that straw. It's called a catheter. And as we continue to pull this mechanism out, the needle that had started your IV or punctured into the vessel is now being pulled out. And as you can see, what gets left is this very flexible straw-like structure that we call a catheter. And then once everything's done and we've gotten your IV access successfully, we pull this all the way out. You hear that click, and this portion comes off. And all that remains is this device here, with this portion being left into the vessel for the infusion. Excellent.
That is fantastic. And because it's a nice kit, look how neatly it all cleans up and goes away. Back to hydration. We're back. So while dripping, I don't have to worry about holding my arm perfectly still or being worried I could poke myself with the needle.
Not at all. But pop quiz, do you know what achemophobia is?
You got me.
It's the fear of needles, and it's not uncommon. Some studies suggest that 1 in 4 people have a fear of needles and injections.
Oh, I've heard that. Fear of needles can stem from inaccurate childhood memories of having vaccines and such be way more painful than they are. You get the lollipop, mom gives you a hug, and everything looks bigger when you're a kid, and that makes it seem scarier.
Yes, and that even stems up and into adulthood, so it's not uncommon for adults as well, even though through those childhood traumas, to be very afraid of needles. But however, a fear of needles also can be attributed to evolution. You know, for thousands of years until fairly recently, when someone would get poked on a sharp object, it could highly likely result in an infection and possibly death. And so instinctively avoiding such objects was life-saving.
Oh, that's ironic because it's often now a sharp prick from a needle that can save or extend our lives.
Yeah.
Well, that all makes sense, but do you have any tips for our guests on what to do to make that needle experience a little more comfortable or work through that fear?
I do, absolutely, but I think it would be a great subject to tackle on our next episode, because I could walk through some methods and distraction options while we do an IV or a booster that could help with people's anxiety.
Excellent. I like it, because as you said, it's just a little prick. All right, well, until next time, stay hydrated.